My ambition when I wrote Easy Money was really to turn the Scandinavian crime tradition 180 degrees opposite, to turn it all upside down. If traditionally you have a private eye or a police investigator as the main character in Swedish crime literature, I wanted to have the criminals themselves as main characters. If traditionally the plot starts off with a murder and then unfolds and you get the solution by the end of the book, I wanted the plot to revolve around the real crimes from the real streets of Stockholm, the crimes I see every day in my job as a criminal defense lawyer. I remember very clearly the spark that triggered me to write this first book. I was at the time working in the court, and we had a trial. 3 young men were prosecuted for an armed robbery in an apartment. They were facing long prison sentences. At the end of the trial, the judge asked them, "Where do you see yourself within 5 years?" The judge wanted these young men to show whether they had an ambition to become citizens, to stop doing crime, to start studying, what have you, just not doing crime. But instead of answering the judge, they stood up in the chairs, and the guards actually had to push them down, and they started to shout. And they shouted, "You don't understand anything. You don't understand the lives we live. You don't understand where we come from. You don't understand that this is the only way we can live our lives." And I remember coming home that night, I sat down by my computer and I started to write. The first piece I ever wrote. And I wrote about this armed robbery. But not from the perspective of the victims or a police investigator coming in to solve the crime, but from the eyes of these young men, from the eyes of the criminals themselves. Because I figured, if they claim that this is the only way they can live their life, it must be of interest to the reader and to myself to try to get into their heads, to try to understand how could it be that you commit crimes and you see it as the only way you have to go.